Hello and a warm welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboale. We begin in Uganda, where President Yoweri Museveni has been confirmed to be the ruling party's sole candidate for next year's presidential election. The latest development sets the stage for the 75-year-old president to extend his rule to 4 decades after rising to power in 1986 through an armed rebellion. The opposition is also getting ready for the January polls. MP Robert Kyagulanyi, also known as Bobi Wine, launched his National Unity Platform party to be the political wing of his People Power movement. However, Uganda's Electoral Commission have banned campaigns because of the coronavirus pandemic, but opposition figures have criticized the ban, saying it gives an unfair advantage to the ruling party, whose members own media outlets. Well, let's get more on this story from Ugandan journalist Sarah Bayomuma Isho in Kampala. Sarah, thanks for joining us on Network Africa. How are citizens reacting to President Museveni's 6th-term bid ahead of next year's election?
A lot of Ugandans who actually follow politics, there is nothing surprising about President Museveni being declared the sole candidate for the NRM party, because this was truly expected. Since 2005, when Uganda went back to the multi-party politics, we've been having the president come as a sole candidate to represent his party as a flag bearer in the general election. So really there is nothing surprising, except this time round his opponent, a former MP called John Simbwa, had seemed serious that he wanted to stand against him. But he went today to pick the nomination forms when the time had passed, because picking the expression of interest forms was supposed to be between 20th and 22nd. So today it's 23rd. He went when the time frame had expired. So the NRM Electoral Commission chairman told him it was too late. He said he wasn't serious. He didn't even pay the money, the 20 million that was needed for him to stand against President Museveni. So since no other candidate had declared their intentions wanting to stand against the president, they had to declare him a sole candidate. So his contender is actually going to court. He says he's going to court tomorrow because the Electoral Commission, the party Electoral Commission, was supposed to wait until the 28th when the nomination process ends before declaring Museveni a sole candidate. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But I don't think there was anything wrong with declaring him a sole candidate, because the time frame for picking the expression of interest forms had passed. So they didn't expect any other person to go pick the forms since the 22nd already passed.
So we have President Museveni. Talk to us about the other contenders in this race and their chances of winning.
Is any opposition party presidential flag bearer that could win? The biggest competition this time round is between President Yoweri Museveni and Bobi Wine, that's Kyagulanyi Robert, and the Alliance for National Transformation flag bearer, that is General Mugisha. So those are the 3 candidates that people are looking at. We are still waiting for the Forum for Democratic Change to nominate a flag bearer. We don't know who it will be, but for now it's between the 3 candidates: General Mugisha, President Yoweri Museveni, and Robert Kyagulanyi Bobi Wine. So we don't know if there is a possibility of the other 2 winning, one of them emerging a winner, but there is a possibility that President Museveni will take the seat again.
You know, Sarah, Bobi Wine has been in the headlines for some times now for some controversy. And like you mentioned, you know, he is the main challenger to President Museveni. Tell us more about his recently launched party.
Haven't fully started, but some members of parliament, especially those in the opposition, are doing public rallies despite being banned by government. They have on several occasions been arrested, but it's surprising that some of them, like Bobi Wine, are actually doing what government asked them to do. they are going to TV stations and radio stations, except it's really expensive buying airtime on radio and TV stations. I actually happen to have seen a receipt of Bobby Wine given by a certain radio station where he was charged around 6 million Ugandan shillings. That's an equivalent of about 627,000 or so naira. So that's just 1 hour appearing on a radio talk show for 1 hour, and you have to pay 6 million Ugandan shillings. So that means that some politicians, especially those who do not have donor money, donor funds, may not manage with these digital campaigns, because if it's that expensive, just a few of them will manage. So that means that those who cannot manage to pay such an amount of money will have to quit. And also, many media houses are owned by senior government officials, as you already know, and these people are also seeking re-election. So it is quite challenging for such people to allow their rivals on the same radio and TV stations that they own.
All right then, Sarah, a lot to look out for there. Sarah, thank you so much once again for joining us on Network Africa. West African leaders have arrived in Bamako on a high-stakes mission aimed at diffusing Mali's political crisis that has raised concerns of further instability in the country. The visit on Thursday by the presidents of Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, Niger, Nigeria and Senegal comes days after a mediation mission by the West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS failed to break the deadlock. This is Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari's first visit abroad since the outbreak of the coronavirus. Earlier in the week, former President Goodluck Jonathan, the ECOWAS special envoy to the country, briefed President Buhari on the political situation in Mali. Mobilized by influential Muslim leader Ibrahim Dicko, tens of thousands of opposition protesters have in recent weeks poured onto the streets of Bamako to demand President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's resignation. Over in North Africa, Sudan says it will devalue its currency to try to correct its huge budget deficit and tackle a growing economic crisis. The Sudanese pound trades at an official rate of 55 to the dollar, but the black market rate is 140. With rampant inflation and state revenues having dropped 40%, the acting finance minister said urgent action on the currency was needed. The government has also appointed civilian governors for states as part of the 3-year transition to fully democratic rule. On Tuesday, the former president Omar al-Bashir, who was overthrown last year, went on trial on charges related to a seizure of power in 1989. Let's shift our focus to the COVID-19 pandemic now. There are concerns the death toll from the coronavirus in South Africa may be significantly higher than official figures currently show. The country announced a record 24-hour increase of 572 coronavirus deaths. But researchers from South Africa's Medical Research Council say the figures for natural deaths are far higher than usual, suggesting thousands of COVID-19 deaths may be going unreported. The new deaths announced on Wednesday bring the total number of fatalities to 5,940. Almost half of the country's total number of deaths have been reported in the Western Cape province. So far, official figures shows almost 6,000 people have died from COVID-19. Our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia joins us now for more. Hello, Betty.
Hi, Tenny. Yes. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, 11,000 unexplained deaths. What is the Health Ministry's response to this study by the Medical Research Council?
Well, let me just put a bit of context to this. There's nothing so sinister about it. It's part of what is called the weekly death reports, which the SA Medical Research Council, presents every Wednesday. And this is a process done in many developed countries as well. Even in the UK, you have that. So what they found out is that within the period of the latest research, you have about 17,090 excess deaths. That's what it's called, not explained, unexplained now. Excess deaths. And if nearly 6,000 is from the official COVID figures, where is 11,000 coming from? So it could be unreported COVID cases, people dying at home. We know that because of the situation, a lot of people are even scared. Even those with underlying illnesses, with existing illnesses, are scared to go to hospitals. And in some cases, people fear that there may not be space if all attention is going to COVID. So that's really the situation. We've had things like this being done. I think South Africa may be, I'm not quite sure, one of the few African countries doing this. And what they try to do with this report, what they call the weekly death reports, is to measure real-time changes in mortality. And in this particular time where you have the COVID pandemic, it's helping government, have a kind of check or complement what government is doing, the figures, closing gaps, data gaps that you have. And it's noteworthy that the leader of the SA or members of the Medical Research Council actually work, and they're advising the Department of Health. Professor Glenda Gray, who is the leader of the Research Council, is a member of the Advisory Council for COVID, for the Ministry of Health or the Minister of Health. So it's not like they're working apart. So that's the context for it. It could be a number of reasons: people who have died at home, people with other illnesses, and people with COVID as well.
But Betty, let's look at yesterday's figure. South Africa reported a record 24-hour increase of 572 coronavirus deaths. And this is all coming as the WHO is saying that, the coronavirus is spreading at an alarming rate in Africa. South Africa is the hardest hit country on the continent. How does President Ramaphosa's government intend to slow down these figures?
Well, they're doing a lot. They've been doing quite a lot. If you can't, on one side, appealing to people to help because the virus is spread by people moving around. So appealing to people on one hand to be a bit more responsible, wash their hands, wear the mask, and stay at home if you don't have anything to do. On the other hand, they're beefing up capabilities. You say it's the hardest hit. South Africa has about 69,000 people or the population compared to other African countries like Nigeria. But South Africa has as many as 2.6 million tests done. So it may be false comfort for the other countries who are far more in terms of population, but far fewer tests. I know Ghana is trying, Nigeria is trying as well, but compared to the population of both countries, so it's just out there thinking, oh, South Africa is the hardest hit, but they're testing far more. That is why it's like that. But the government is doing a lot. We expect to hear, there are cases where you have fraud, COVID fraud, as you put it, people stealing equipment, PPEs. There was a heist at OR Tambo. Many things government is dealing with, just trying to get people to be a bit more responsible as they try to respond to the needs of the people. We expect to, they're also beefing up community mobilization to appeal to the people, led by ministers who will be deployed. Unfortunately, a few of the ministers are now COVID positive and they're in isolation, but they're using community leaders, non-governmental organizations as well. We expect to hear from the president this evening at 8 p.m. local time to know what next will be done. I know there's been a lot of pressure for schools to be closed. We want to hear, we're going to hear maybe that will happen. There are whisperings around that probably they will close schools for about 3 weeks to move into August and see if the numbers will come down, maybe. Right. But that's still 8 p.m. when we'll find out.
All right, then, Betty, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on the situation in South Africa.
Thank you very much.
Ethiopian poultry farmers have been forced to slaughter hundreds of thousands of chicks as the sector reels from a collapse in demand for chicken from the hotel sector because of the coronavirus pandemic. The hotel sector, like many other industries, have been largely paralyzed and unable to pay staff. Ethiopia has recorded over 11,500 confirmed cases and 188 deaths from the coronavirus so far.
With the coronavirus pandemic hitting demand for poultry, farmers in Ethiopia have been forced to cull hundreds of thousands of chicks, many just a day old. Government data was not available, but Dr. Fiseha Tesfu, marketing manager at one of the Addis Ababa's biggest supplier, Ethio Chicken, said his company destroyed 650,000 chicks over 5 weeks in May and June.
Totally, I think we destroyed around 650,000 chickens culled in those 5 weeks, and we have to actually pull some eggs from our hatchery so that we can actually destroy them as eggs instead of chickens.
Tesfu estimates that the countrywide millions have been culled. Restrictions to contain the spread of COVID-19 have hit hotels in Addis hard, with many reducing operations or closing, removing a major source of demand for poultry. Bantayehu Wolde Michael, general manager of the Capital Hotel, says the damage has been widespread.
Most of our suppliers are not working now. They are highly affected. For example, when you see as a dairy product suppliers, meat product suppliers, and vegetable and everything, every sector is affected. So just if you are not working, just they can't move.
That disruption has potentially devastating social consequences. Dr. Miba Gabriel Estefanos is a veterinarian who also owns a small farm in Addis Ababa. He says the poultry sector employed a vast number of people across Ethiopia's regions and age groups, and that they are not working at all. In May, Finance Minister Ahmed Shide warned that nearly 15 million people could need government help because of the pandemic.
Kenya's Tsavo Conservation Area has reported 3 separate fire incidents. The Kenya Wildlife Service says one of the fires adjacent to the Tsavo East National Park was put out before encroaching into the park. Efforts to put out the second and third fires in the southern part of Tsavo West National Park and parts of Chulu National Park are ongoing. Local media reports that vegetation was destroyed in the fires. And back here in Nigeria, the Cross River State Governor, Professor Benayade, is on a mission to change the deplorable living conditions of the host communities of the Obudu Ranch Resort. Governor Ayade, who made the promise during a one-week working visit to the resort, during his tour to the communities, expressed sadness over the residents' situation.
Obudu Mountain Resort in Obanluku local government area of Cross River State is known to be a destination of choice for tourists in Nigeria and from other countries. With a peculiar weather and friendly environment for holidays, the resort offers scenic views of nature and wildlife. But taking a walk away from the resort, there appears to be a sharp contrast with the residents of the host community living in dilapidated homes, exposing them to the harsh weather conditions.
It's not easy. You can see the place is very local. We don't even have toilet. We don't have bathroom. When it is raining, we have to stand under the rain there before we can take our bath. Before you can even get something to eat or even walk, it's not easy. So life here is very stressful, but if the governor wants to make a change about it, I'll be very, very happy.
Governor Benayade wants to change the narrative and goes on a one-week tour of the communities.
These are the original aborigines, the original owners of the Obudu Cattle Ranch, relegated to the worst form of existence, reduced to want in body, in spirit, and in soul. in the most subhuman living condition, collapsing roofs with huge, massive temperatures that run your blood chilled and your bones cold.
He promises to build social housing for the people.
As government, we're committed to bringing social housing to change their course and prove to them that God acts through human beings. In the next 6 months, we'll be here and you'll see the difference.
It's one of the latest projects of the Ayade administration, which aims to end the suffering of the people who live around the Obudu mountain resort.
Actors from the Cairo-based theatre Sitara were only halfway through their rendition of the classic tale Beauty and the Beast when the COVID-19 pandemic hit Egypt. Just a few weeks later, the members of the group had to cancel all scheduled performances, acting workshops and school trips as the government imposed lockdown measures to curb the spread of the virus in mid-March. The move has left Egyptians grappling with job losses and pay cuts.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit Egypt, the first country to report a case in Africa in February, many businesses moved their activities online. But Emma Davis, the artistic director and founder of Cairo-based theatre Sitara, decided to shut down the whole business in fear of the spread of the disease.
Even though Egypt's opening up, and even though the government has said that you can open theatres with 25%, especially because we work with families, we don't feel that it's ethically responsible for us to open.
Having survived years of tough economic reforms and government austerity measures, many Egyptians, including the team in Sitara, are unsure of how to weather the coronavirus storm.
Honestly, this whole thing has been a huge emotional strain, and now I feel a bit jittery. Yes, everyone is worried about the future, about their livelihoods and whether or not they'll have a stable income. But the psychological impact is huge, especially since we're performing artists. We mainly rely on live performances. We can't come together, we can't work on new materials. I don't even see anyone anymore, let alone be able to perform a live show.
The imposed lockdown measures have paralyzed tourism and other vital sectors, hitting the economy hard and slowing down growth forecasts. Several individuals working in sectors including media and broadcasting, aviation and communications who managed to keep their jobs have been slammed with pay cuts of 15 to 25%. Others were laid off altogether and struggled to find work, even in industries like service.
I have been looking for a job ever since last Eid. Employment opportunities are few for managers, even for the staff, because now everyone is back to working with a lesser capacity than the usual flow of any restaurant or cafe.
Egypt's Statistics Agency in June reported that 26.2% of those with a job have not been working due to the lockdown measures, while 55.7% of working Egyptians have worked fewer hours or days. Its latest data put unemployment at 9.2% in April. Egypt has so far registered over 87,000 cases of coronavirus, although the number of new cases has fallen in recent weeks.
And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shuboale. Thanks for watching.